Hey everyone, it's Sasha Bobashasaurus, or just Sasha for short, and welcome back to my channel. And welcome back to the second take of this because the video wasn't recording the first time. Today, as the title of this video suggests, we're going to be going through all the movies I watched for spooky season 2023. I didn't plan any of my picks. I did not limit myself to one per day. And what the fuck was the last one? I mostly went for movies that I either haven't seen before or movies that I haven't seen in a really long time. So this list is mostly stuff I haven't seen before, because I have a lot of catching up to do, and I thought this would just be a really fun way to do that. Alright, so that's it for the intro. Let's get to the good stuff. Here is my official Shocktober 2023 watch list. So I wanted to start the month with something familiar, like a comfy old favorite to kind of ease myself into the unknown horrors that lay ahead. So I picked Return of the Living Dead. And this is one of those cases where it's like, what can you say about it that hasn't already been said? Like, I don't feel like it's like a horror comedy masterpiece. This movie is just like spooky joy incarnate. It is one of the best horror comedies of all time. It is just a fact. It is not up for debate. I love how dark the humor gets, and it still manages to be funny. It's Return of the Living Dead. If you know, you know. And if you don't know, then I'm jealous. It's because that means you get to experience it for the first time.
You need any help finding something?
I was looking for Trevor's Town. I can't find it on the map here.
I've been wanting to check out Backwoods Marcy for a while now, and I added it to my collection like a little while back. And I just hadn't gotten around to watching it yet. This movie popped up on my radar when I heard it mentioned in one of Ellie's videos. They said that's a movie where the violence is perpetrated by a woman against a man. And that dynamic is kind of uncommon in horror throughout the decades. It's also co-directed by a woman, which is also a very uncommon thing for 90s era SOV movies. Unfortunately though, this one was a little bit disappointing. Like, it doesn't have a lot going on in the way of plot, and the characters it centers around, they're just it's just the captor and her captive, and they're just not a whole lot of interesting. They don't have like any like really interesting interactions with each other or anything, and it just kind of drags a little. But you know, I still appreciate it, and I'm glad to have it in my collection.
The Cape May Chronicle received a letter from an individual calling themselves the Cape May Slayer.
There's a serial killer on the loose. What else could possibly be this exciting?
I'm so sorry to all my friends out there who like this, but I fucking hated Summer of '84. It's made by a trio of directors who had also made Turbo Kid. I liked Turbo Kid better than this, but like, there was so much stuff going on in that movie, like, it was enough to kind of distract me, like, kind of dilute, like, all of the stuff that really didn't work in that movie that I really didn't like. And Summer of '84 had none of the stuff to distract me, and it was all of the shit that I just did not like about Turbo Kid. Like, the cynical pop 80s nostalgia shit. Like, that's all this movie has, and it's like, it's just drawing my attention to the empty I hated this one, I'm sorry. Basket Case is one that I've been meaning to watch for years, and this month I finally did it. And this is gonna be one of those movies that I have to come back to. Maybe rewatch with a friend or discuss or something. There's a lot of feels here to unpack. I don't know, I liked it. Like, this movie made me laugh, but it also made me really sad at certain points. I don't know, moving on. Can y'all believe I haven't seen City of the Living Dead until this month? Yeah, I am way behind on my Fulci. To be honest, The last time I rewatched Zombie, I was kind of a hater. Thought it was mostly boring except for the zombie action. But I've since bought the Blue Underground 4K, and I've heard that this is one of like the best 4K transfers ever put to disc, so I'm looking forward to rewatching this when I have a 4K and giving it another shot. Anyways, back to City of Living Dead. I loved it. I wish I could tell you more, like I really did, but I can't remember specific details about the movie. It felt like this wild, wonderful, like fever dream. Also, I had tipped a few back while watching. Needless to say, I am going to be adding this one to the collection, and there is a nice new crispy 4K out there for me to get when I get around to it.
Whoa!
Dear God, this movie was foul. I also got to add it to my ever-growing list of movies where a dude gets their dick chopped off on my Letterboxd. It's a real playlist. Go check it out. I scooped this one up real quick after I watched it, and I went with the 88 Films release since it was cheaper than the Synapse one. Anyways, this movie is so nasty, both in tone and in its super goopy fucking gore effects that are just so fucking stellar. It also has this really appropriately nasty sense of humor. I think I will only like this one more upon rewatches. This was the first rewatch of this one since the theaters like 10 years ago. At the time, I fucking hated it. I hated it so much when I first saw it. I thought it was Rob Zombie's worst movie by a fucking mile. And that was after seeing Halloween 2 in theaters 4 years prior and fucking hating that. But I've changed so much since 2013. I was already expecting to appreciate this movie more upon rewatch, but like during the first act, I was thinking that I was gonna rate this like maybe like 4 out of 5 stars. But then the second and third act kinda things just kind of dropped off a bit. I still liked the film overall, but my interest did drop pretty significantly after the first act.
Someone out there is taking all these urban legends and making them reality.
Urban legend.
Have you heard the one about the microwave?
I never got around to this one when it came out, mostly because it just kind of looked like I Know What You Did Last Summer light. And yeah, it was about what I expected. I liked the intro scene, and it was nice seeing Danielle Harris make a brief appearance. Even if she was playing a character written by someone who clearly doesn't think very highly of goth girls. This movie's killer reveal is dumb. Not necessarily who the killer ends up being, just you'll have to see for yourself. It's the corniest f***ing scene.
How many bodies you say there were?
20, 30. Crowley killed them all.
Best you got for me? Some kind of urban legend?
I gotta admit, I was pretty lukewarm on the first Hatchet. I thought the kills were pretty dope, but the rest of the movie didn't really do much for me. The characters didn't really do it for me for whatever reason. And for me, Hatchet 2 was a really big step up. Like, Tony Todd stepping into a leading role, and also Danielle Harris being recast as the final girl from the first movie, and her acting chops bring so much dimension to the character. Also, a thing to note is that Hatchet 2 picked up where Hatchet 1 left off, and Hatchet 3 does the same thing, and it picks up right where Hatchet 2 left off. I kind of like that the movies are taking place like one after another, and that they're like building upon what came before and like upping the stakes as they go. It helped keep the sequels feeling fresh for me. Hatchet 3 was like a really solid conclusion to the trilogy, and I really appreciate the restraint at not deciding to make additional sequels anyways. Not every franchise needs to be one of those.
I think I'll go to Vancouver now.
Yeah, another director that I'm embarrassingly behind on is John Carpenter. Not nearly as behind as I am with like Fulci and Argento and all them motherfuckers, no, or anything. But I still didn't see The Fog until I was 39. I've been hearing for years that this is like one of Carpenter's lesser films from that era, and having seen it now, I kind of agree. It's an okay ghost story, but it's fine. It's fine. The Fog is fine. This is another one that I had heard about for years. Back when I started getting into extreme horror, this was on a few most disturbing movies lists. And I recently got it. This dope-ass box set on an Arrow sale. It was on sale for like $40. And that's the only one I've watched in that box set so far, but it was a fucking trip, I'll tell you. Tetsuo the Iron Man is like this really intense like body horror fever dream. Think of it as Eraserhead's abusive stepfather. With Mitchum, I can skip a day. Look at me catching up on my Fulci. I really liked this one a lot. I wish I could tell you more about my thoughts and feelings on it, but I was a little swifty when I was watching it. But hey, look at that, I bought it. I already know I'll like it, so it'll be nice to go back to it when I can focus more cognitively on it and not just go off of the vibes that it's putting off, you know? Does anybody else do that? Sometimes, like, I feel like my initial watch of a movie, a lot of the time, I just kind of vibe with it. And the next time I watch it is when I more cognitively process what happens in it. I feel like, not always, but very commonly, I feel like that's what happens. Is that happening to anyone else? Or is that just my screwed up brain doing that?
Our first movie is one of the most mean-spirited and ugly thrillers I've seen in a long time. It's called Extra, and it's a monster movie, and it's not a very good monster movie, but that's okay because most monster movies aren't very good.
This was a vibe. There was such creativity on display here, and it also had some more of those fever dream kind of qualities that I was talking about earlier. Noticing a pattern here. Do I have a fever dream kink?
Let down your hair, unbutton your blouse, hike up your skirt, stick out your tongue, and a coat.
This one relied on a style of humor that really didn't work for me, and I just kind of wanted it to be over. What did I rate this? 2.5 stars? Where'd the extra half star come from?
He's giving them a blast from the past they'll never forget. Marty Ranson is still a dork, but tonight he's getting even. Best Run Pictures presents Slaughter High.
This one had a much stronger first half, and then it feels like they kind of gave up. Like, it's got a pretty good setup as far as sleazy slashers go, and the kills are really fun and creative at first. And then, like, the last half of the movie, like, they just stopped trying.
See this? It's a map.
This whole thing has been staged.
You just get out.
This is not reality.
It's all happening for real, Trent.
Crossing off another Carpenter joint for my have not seen list. Definitely dug the vibe of this one. I'm holding off getting it on Blu-ray since I have a feeling there's going to be a 4K in the not too distant future. I just have a feeling. I also love going back and seeing all of Sam Neill's like really dark, weird shit because I grew up knowing him just as like the mild mannered Dr. Grant. But I guess we did kind of get that little glimpse of darkness when Dr. Grant kind of intimidated that kid with the fucking raptor claw.
What do you give me if I come back?
Texas?
Night of the Comet.
I'll be taking requests from all you teenage comet zombies.
The night the teenagers ruled the world.
I'm confessing that I had not even heard of this movie until the 4K was announced, and I didn't think anything of it until I saw like a lot of buzz about it. A lot of people were excited, so I decided to check it out, and hey, I really liked it. Was lacking a little bit in the Comet zombie department, but I loved the visuals like of the city and everything. Like I loved like the style of it. And also, judging by the year this came out, this may have been the first Girls Just Want to Have Fun clothes trying on montage ever, and that counts for something. I didn't look it up, so if someone wants to look it up and prove me wrong, please do it.
One by one, he butchered their bodies to reach his final victim. The rock and roll star he adored. A madman with a message from hell.
This one. Okay. This movie should be straightforward, but somehow it's not. It's a hot mess. But one positive thing I will say about it is the song Rainbow Eyes fucking slaps.
Told you it was Bubba.
This was a pretty solid tale of bigotry and revenge. I've already kind of forgotten most of it though, but it's one of those, like, you're glad you check it out at least once kind of things, you know? I used to love spooky scarecrow stuff when I was little. It could be kind of fun to get back in touch with that side of myself and just watch some more spooky scarecrow movies.
Return to Horror High. It's a scream.
We're sitting at different angles, kids. Oh, Auntie Sasha's legs are falling asleep. Ooh. So numb. This one was so fucking fun. I laughed my fucking ass off at this movie. I don't know what it is about the humor. Something about it just hit that sweet spot. I immediately bought that shit. I would go get it, but my leg is in that denumbing stage where if you move it, it hurts like a motherfucker. So I'm just gonna move on to the next one, sorry.
Welcome to the health club where you'll sweat blood.
Never work without a spotter, Freddie. Weight falls on your chest and you can really get squashed.
It's the place for a killer workout.
Death Spa is so f***ing dope. You guys, you gotta watch Death Spa. Bi-lighting everywhere, crazy-ass death scenes, and it's called Death Spa, obviously, so there's the gratuitous shower and locker room scenes, and spa scenes in this case, obviously. Obviously! But yeah, check out Death Spa.
Who is that?
I just tried to hang up on him.
Can you get rid of this person?
I don't know.
Was this here the whole time?
It's just probably a glitch.
Well, the glitch just typed.
I avoided this one forever. Like, I hated it, like, immediately after I had heard the premise for it. And I was such a hater, and I was such a hater, and I never even saw it. Yeah, I was that f***ing bitch. But I gave it a shot, and it's actually really good. But, as per my rule, I deduct half a star for any movie that ends in a specific way. This was a 3.5-star movie until the last 15 seconds. If y'all read my spoiler reviews on Letterboxd, y'all know what kind of ending I'm talking about. God, I adored this movie. I can't believe I don't really know what to say about it. What the fuck? This movie just has such a fucking vibe I cannot describe. This was another, like, immediate purchase. Like, right after I finished watching it, I went on Amazon and bought this thing. And this is another one with a badass rock song in it. How has it taken me this long to realize how much I love the concept of hard rock horror?
31 is war. And war is hell.
In hell, everybody loves popcorn.
Well, this day took a turn. Jesus, this was the day that I watched 5 fucking movies in a day, and one of them was Rob Zombie's fucking 31. I am a fan of a good amount of Rob Zombie's movies. Like, I liked House of a Thousand Corpses, mostly for Sid Haig. I loved Devil's Rejects. I really liked his first Halloween movie. I hated the theatrical cut of Halloween 2. I never saw the director's cut, though, and I've heard that one's better. So maybe I'll check that one out at some point. I hated Lords of Salem the first time I saw it. But as you see, my feelings have changed on that. I hated 3 from Hell. And I hate 31. Like, I don't know what happened between Lords of Salem and 31, but ever since then, like, Rob Zombie's movies have been, like, all of his worst impulses and, like, none of the good stuff. And it ends up making me just kind of feel nothing. And a Rob Zombie film should not evoke the reaction of nothing.
The kids of Elm Street don't know it yet, but something is coming to get them.
There's something out there, isn't there?
Obviously, I needed a palate cleanser after 31, so I went with another classic that I hadn't seen in like 5 or 6 years. And confession, I hadn't always like been too huge on the Nightmare on Elm Street movies in the past. Like, I didn't grow up with them really. Like, I was aware of like the Nightmare on Elm Street movies and Freddy, but like I didn't see any of the movies really until I was like in my teens or early 20s, except I saw New Nightmare when I was younger, and that was it. Friday the 13th was like one of the big 3 that I had seen some of the movies of back when I was a kid. And yeah, like Halloween and Nightmare on Elm Street I saw later on, but anyways, I have a much bigger appreciation for Nightmare on Elm Street now, especially like the first one and the third one, which I'll get to later. And I mean, like, what? It's Nightmare on Elm Street. Like, what am I gonna say about it? Come on.
Is it the fears we all have when we're alone in the dark? And if it's only a nightmare, why is everybody dead?
I originally had a gag planned where I was gonna edit it so it looked like the movie like went in one ear and out the other, but I don't think I have the ambition to do that right now. So the Slayer just kind of went in one ear and out the other. That's my review for it. Like, I couldn't tell you a fucking thing that happened in that movie.
The Video Dead, a new form and shape for zombie terror that invades a neighborhood and threatens the innocent.
I was full-on drunk when I watched Video Dead. It felt almost like a dream that I barely remember, but I know was a good time. You know what I mean?
It's 1987. Do you know where Freddy is?
It must have been at least 10 years since I saw this one. I loved it. I really like how mental illness is weaved into the story. Like, it's not handled, like, as best as it could be, but I'm still appreciative of what we got. Like, the parallels of what people are going through when they're experiencing, like, extreme crises and what it's like to be stalked by, like, a dream demon. It's like how, like, the severity of their reality is constantly minimized, like, they're never believed, they're isolated in their suffering. And again, this movie didn't, like, really dig deep, but it does get credit for what it did do, I think. And also the power duo of Heather Langenkamp and fucking Patricia Arquette, come on.
You have to come with me to that concert tonight. Now, I can't explain it. I think they're doing something to the kids, controlling their minds. I can feel it, Neil.
I want to like this movie, but I can't shake the little bit of ick that I kind of caught from it. Like, the premise is there's, like, a rock band coming to town, and, like, the moral outrage, like, moral Christian outrage, like, society is like, oh no, we gotta stop these evil rock and rollers from brainwashing our kids. And it turns out that they're right, that the rock band is a bunch of evil monsters, like, trying to brainwash and corrupt, like, the kids, like, through their concerts and, like, through, like, their records and everything. And it has this kind of, like, a little stink of Christian propaganda, a little bit, like, Christian propaganda disguised as, like, a sleazy rock and roll horror movie. Like, that might just be my, like, religious trauma, like, on edge, and maybe it's just meant to be a fun time, but I don't know. This one's kind of, I'm not sure for me.
I'm turning it off. It's too violent for the two of you.
I'm a Terrifier fan, so I decided I wanted to check out the origins of Art the Clown. And this movie didn't really grab me until, like, the last 15 minutes, but it ended up being something that I was glad that I watched.
The ball, go get it.
Female, you're a girl if you don't get the ball.
Female, you are a female, you are a female, you are a female.
This was a pretty forgettable giallo, with the exception of one really gruesome kill that was, you got kind of a sneak peek of it if you've seen, like, the Vinegar Syndrome, like, big box art of it. And the ending twist was so fucking whack. This one was, yeah, this was, like, really mid.
Deep in the swamps of Louisiana lives a Cajun wildcat, untamed and deadly as the swamps that spawned her. Desiree.
This was a solid revenge flick, and I found out that it was actually by the same couple who brought us Shocktober Blood. And while Gatorbait does not have a kick-ass rock song, it is quite a bit more coherent than Shocktober Blood, and like I said, it's just like a solid revenge flick.
Herbert West has effected reanimation in dead animal tissue.
What are you thinking? How do you feel?
This was another classic that I hadn't seen in like 10 years, so watching it was like kind of seeing it for the first time again, because I didn't remember a lot of it. And this is just another one of those movies that has like perfectly balanced, like, dark humor with horror. It's
There's a fucking head in the coffee table. Wake your asses up, man. Look at this. There's a fucking head in the coffee table. Wake up. Come on. Check this shit out. I'm history. Take my ass home. A fucking head. A hand.
This movie had an amateurish nature to it that was like super endearing, like the line deliveries, the dialogue, it just like made me smile so much. But the movie is almost 2 hours and that is way too long. This should have been like 80 minutes tops.
Oh, you don't want to stay here?
We don't really have a choice.
Well, guess it's time to start the slumber party!
This is that type of like pseudo socially conscious meta writing that I really fucking hate. I hated this. Like the entire runtime, I hated this.
Maybe you're still being chased by the ghosts of your cannibals.
That's right! You don't forget the taste of human flesh.
This is the first time in recent memory that I've abstained from giving a rating to a movie. Like, there were a lot of conflicting emotions coming up. And I generally know what to expect from Italian cannibal movies from this era. There were still feelings that came up that I was not prepared for. This was like such a fucking weird, aggressively disturbing vibe.
Hey, let's take the body back and show it to the girls.
Conrad, I always wanted to be your bride.
This one had some pretty good spooky vibes, but not much, like, really keeping me interested, like, plot-wise. And, like, you don't need, like, a whole lot of plot going on. It can just be spooky vibes. But with this one, I wanted either more spooky vibes or more plot, and I didn't really get enough of either to be, like, fully satisfied. Even though, like, I think this is one that'll, like, kind of grow on me over time, and I think I'll add it to my collection.
This film is so weird, off the planet, incredibly ridiculous, unbelievably far-fetched, depraved and lacking in taste that I can relate to it. I mean, check this gig eating himself for dinner, or this bloke with his three-handed handshake. Now that's what I call good viewing.
This movie is f***ing bat. Is this also a fever dream? God, I really do have a fever dream kink. There is this, like, icky kind of plot thread of, like a rock singer, like, grooming this, like, 15 or 16-year-old girl. But it doesn't take up, like, a whole lot of the movie, thankfully. But just, no, it's there. But this movie is f***ing wild. This movie is so f***ing wild, it should be experienced at least once, I think.
Did you see little Roger Smith today? He was at the park. Why?
We got a missing kid.
His ice cream has a secret ingredient.
What the hell is that ice cream dork doing out this late?
What's your favorite flavor?
Wow.
This is one of those movies that always caught my eye on the video store shelf when I was a kid. I'm glad I didn't see it back then, because I would not have been prepared for the extreme levels of campiness of this movie. Like, I had no patience for campy shit when I was a kid. Like, right from the beginning, when this ice cream man is, like, gunned down in, like, a drive-by shooting, and I don't even mean, like, he's, like, caught in the crossfire. Like, these dudes were gunning for this fucking ice cream man. Clint Howard gives this hilarious performance. All of his lines are, like, really badly ADR'd, so it's just even fucking funnier.
Benjamin Dobbs has opened a door into his mind and unleashed a horror for all those who know what he dreams.
This movie feels like an SOV horror movie that was shot on film. I mean that as a compliment, too. If you're anything like me, like, the acting and, like, the monster effects, they're gonna make you giggle. But the genuine ambition behind this movie is, like, so fucking palpable, and I love it. I just wish this wasn't only available as, like, part of a $60 box set that's about to be out of print at the time of the filming of this video. by the time it's out, like, that thing's probably gonna be gone.
Kill.
The oracle, a power that is ancient.
We got my girl Roberta Finley in the house here. Whoop whoop. This movie was kind of just okay. Pretty good, you know, but there isn't much really that sticks out as, like, memorable, except for this one scene that's kind of a spoiler. So, I don't know, just check out my letterbox if you want to know what that is, I guess.
There's a murderer around campus killing people.
Some may pass the test. Lisa! God help the rest.
Not to be confused with Fatal Exam. This one's got some pretty solidly written, like, moderately engaging characters. I was rarely bored when they were on screen, which is a good thing because they're on screen a lot. And it's also got, like, some really nice, solid, like, tension and atmosphere to it. And so this is, like, it's pretty straightforward slasher, but it's, like, makes the best out of that simplicity, if you know what I mean. Like, it just, you know.
They have opened the gate.
This was one of my first horror movies ever. And for like 30 years, I didn't know the name of this f***ing movie. And one day in my early 30s, I just happened to be thinking about one of the scenes, like one of the few scenes that I remembered from it, and I googled, like, that movie where the kid gets an eye in his hand, and that's where I found out that it was The Gate.
You see, these people here, especially my father, are extremely closed-minded and superstitious. They feel that you, Chris, and Monica are somehow a threat to the community.
For some goddamn reason, my brain keeps telling me the name of the Devonsville Terror is the Dunwich Horror. Anyways, there's some real weight to this one, and some people may say that that weight is from the heavy hand that it delivers this message with, but I feel like that kind of works with the movie's tone, if that makes sense. And I hate to be the kind of bitch who says that this movie is, like, more relevant today than ever, but I got to be that kind of bitch.
I slutty, adulterous darling.
Hey, don't call me darling.
From the masterfully macabre mind of Elvira.
Right, like there's something going on in my mind.
Elvira's Haunted Hills.
This one's got a really fun sense of humor, and there are a lot of jokes. Thankfully, most of them land, and even when one of them doesn't, the next one usually will. I still like the first one a little more, but overall, like, Haunted Hills is, like, a really fun watch.
Nowhere to run to.
This is my first David Dakota film, and I'm planning on seeing more now that I know how many of his movies from this era star Linnea Quigley. This movie was so fun. You got smack-talking imp, you got Linnea Quigley just gloriously chewing scenery, you got some stuff that's some spoilers. This movie rocked. I am definitely picking it up when I can.
You all know the sordid history of the Pi Epsilon Delta sorority. Your task is the very same one given to those sisters all those years ago.
They were going for a really different style here, and it is so fucking not for me. It's pretty much the same story all over again, but with, like, zero charm. I hated this so goddamn much. If it wasn't for the miraculously short, like, 1 hour runtime, I might have shut this fucking thing off. Like, I swear to shit.
Now he's gonna get us.
Another one from the director of Evansville Terror, also starring Susanna Love. Total coincidence that I watched this one so soon after, actually. But I'm glad I did because Boogeyman fucking slaps. And what I mean when I say it slaps is that I mean it's pretty good. It did kind of lose me a little bit during parts of it. I think I might just need to rewatch it when I'm in a different mood.
And God created woman.
Someone old.
What's dead is dead.
Someone new.
This is some kind of joke, right, man?
How dare you judge my work?
I've never actually seen the sequels to Reanimator, so I decided that this would be a good time to check some of them out. And Bride of Reanimator, it had a lot of really cool effects and set pieces. But story-wise, I feel like it kind of lagged, and it like lacked the momentum and focus from the first one. And also like the wit of it. And I feel like those are things that were all missed, for me at least.
How long has it been since you've been on Elm Street? Welcome to a brand new nightmare.
Dramarama's in this!
I guess we all want what we don't have.
This one's got like May meets Maniac kind of vibes. This is a very intense tale of obsession that I am gonna need to revisit a couple more times before I can really begin to unpack it. For now, I'm just gonna say that I loved The Stylist.
They're waiting for you. And they'll take you one by one, and no one will hear you scream.
Happy Halloween! What did I pick for the big day? Well, first I watched Messiah of Evil. And this poor movie, it seems so nice, and it like tries so hard to get me to care, but like I only was able to muster up like this paltry little handful of fucks to give to this movie. Like, it came off as mostly just kind of dull for me, and at some point I was just kind of like wanted it to be over. Sorry. This is a big one that's been on my mental watch list, like, since I started getting into disturbing movies, like, over a decade ago. And decided I'd go with something really horrifying for Halloween Day for one of my movies. And, well, needless to say, it's the second movie this month that I've abstained from giving a rating. This movie deeply affected me. Like, I'm still haunted by some of the scenes and like some of the imagery in this thing. Like, it's this viscerally grief-filled, like, cold, hopeless, cruel experience. Like, it has some of the most offensive, like, scenes I've ever seen. Like, some of which involve some, like, high-level, like, very disturbing, like, real-life animal cruelty. Combine that with, like, the mercilessly, like, sadistic, matter-of-fact, like, violence that they're recreating. It left me feeling very down. So I decided for my last movie of the night to pick something a little more upbeat and light in tone, like Possessor.
I need to know. I need to know what she's done to me.
He's become a danger.
Where is she?
Come out or I'll do it!
My first Brandon Cronenberg experience was f***ing awesome. I loved this movie. I cannot wait to pick up on all the stuff I missed my first time around. Like, I love when a movie will like spark this like fire of curiosity in me that'll like make me want to know more about it. I am so excited for Infinity Pool 2. I cannot wait to see Infinity Pool now. But I can't watch this yet because there's no Blu-ray copy. My stack of unwatchable 4Ks is growing a little significant now. The TV I want is expensive. That's the only reason I don't have it yet. Anyways, that concludes my Shocktober 2023 watch list. And I honestly really liked watching like so many movies that I hadn't seen before. Like, I feel like I've like caught up for like a nice little chunk of lost time. And I'm looking forward to doing it again next year and hopefully doing even more movies. So thanks for listening to me rant for like 30 minutes. 45 minutes, something like that. And that's what I was shooting for. How'd I do? Even if some of the movies like irritated me or bored me or just made me feel like shit, like the whole experience was definitely worth it. I'm really looking forward to doing Shocktober again next year. Thanks again so much for hanging out, and I will see you babes next time. Bye.